Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Passionately Wrong podcast with James Bellersville and Randy Searles. I'm Randy. And today we're going to talk about misconceptions in the military because I have 32 years in the military. And I know from just my sons talking to me, if nothing else, that there's a lot of misconceptions that civilians have about how the military functions and day-to-day life and things like that. And James has already asked me a few questions on the side, so we thought this would be a good topic. So I'm actually going to turn this over to James to start it out with. Like, what do you want to know about the military that you think's weird or you're not even sure of?
I appreciate that, Randy. And you're right. We have had a few sidebar conversations and went off on such tangents that we didn't think it was appropriate. But we're going to try and channel it a little bit here. I think the one that probably got us off to start with, and I'm going to start there myself today, is weapons and the military. Because my sense as a lay person is that if you are a soldier and you're in the military, then you are surrounded by weapons all the time, whether you're on the base or off the base. And I would assume at home, you've got a gun strapped under your table, a gun strapped to your thigh. And I don't know why I should think that, other than that's sort of your job. You need to know how to use weapons. So wouldn't that be a big part of your life all the time? Do you spend your spare time practicing shooting your weapons? Do you have pistols lying around the house at home? And it sounds stupid for me to say it out loud like that, but honestly, I have to admit that is a little bit what I think. Do you have them in your car? Do you, is there one under the baby stroller? Do you strap one to your dog? Where do you keep your weapons and how many do you have? How many did you take with you when you left the military, right? Did they give you, so I assume you must have a bunch of guns.
Yeah, I've never owned a gun myself in my life. Maybe I would say that the majority of my peers in the Green Berets probably owned a gun, at least one. I know some that are exactly as you described, but they're their personal weapons. Let's get that straight, right? They're not the ones that we shoot on the military ranges. They're not the ones that the military issues us to use. They're their own personal weapons. So just like any average Texan probably has a bunch of weapons in his house. A lot of these guys joined the military because they love weapons and they owned some before they joined. And as they got up in ranks and made more money, they bought more. And some of them have a gun safe full of pistols and rifles and, hopefully not any grenades or anything. But I know people that are just like you described. They have one under their dining room table and they have one under their couch and they have one under their pillow and they have two in their car. I never felt this need for that. I never felt unsafe where I was living. So I never felt like I needed that. The military, I never shot a gun before I joined the military. I didn't get the gun shooting merit badge when I was in Boy Scouts. I got an archery one, but I didn't get a gun shooting one. So I never shot a gun before, except maybe at a festival, if that's like a BB gun or something like that, like a fair. So the Army taught me how to shoot, which in some cases, the Army prefers it that way because you don't have any bad habits. So they teach you how to shoot. And I came out shooting expert, which I'd say probably 20% of basic trainees do that because they give you good classes. And some of the people who had been shooting their whole life don't necessarily make expert because they have bad habits.
How much of your time do you spend practicing learning how to shoot? Is it something that happens at the beginning and then you're done, or do you have to continue with it all the time?
So everybody goes through basic training, and in basic training, they have basic rifle marksmanship, and they teach you how to shoot, and you go to the range a number of times. I don't know how many. I wasn't ever a drill sergeant, so I don't remember how many times we went. It's a long time ago. But we went a number of times to practice shooting, to practice our marksmanship, and then to qualify. And then you have to shoot 40 targets. And if you get a 38, 39, or 40, you get expert. And if you shoot there's another margin for sharpshooter. And then there's another margin for marksman. And then if you shoot below a certain amount, I think it's 23, then you don't qualify. And then you get a little badge to wear on your your dress uniform. And then you can get badges for machine guns. You can get badges for grenade launchers. You can get badges for tanks, I think, and, if you become a tanker, things like that, and anti-aircraft guns, howitzers and stuff like that. There's different badges you can get to be an expert in your profession. They give you kind of that motivation. It's kind of like all the games you play on your phone and you get the little Ouijas and stuff, the widgets and stuff like that when you do really good. They learned from the military probably. So I learned how to shoot a machine gun, how to shoot a grenade launcher, how to shoot a rifle in basic training. And then I went to the Rangers and we shot machine guns, grenade launchers, and rifles a lot. And we did not shoot pistols at all because pistols were issued to medics and chaplain assistants. And most other people didn't have pistols. And so we didn't have access. They didn't have the ammo to shoot it. We didn't have enough pistols for everybody. And this is back before 9/11. After 9/11, for sure, and maybe as early as the mid late 90s, before 9/11, they started issuing pistols to special operations as their secondary weapon. So if you're shooting your rifle, just like if a lot of people are playing Call of Duty and all these first person games on their computers and stuff, when your character shoots its rifle and it runs out of ammo, then you pull your pistol out in like a couple seconds and you'll still be able to engage. And then once you have cleared all your targets, you'll holster your pistol and then you'll load up your rifle and you'll be ready to go again. And that's the way the world works. But that wasn't the way all Rangers and especially all infantry, they just didn't have pistols for everybody. So not everyone learned how to transition from a rifle to a pistol. Not everyone learned how to shoot a pistol. And that became very obvious when I went to the Green Berets and they gave me a secondary weapon as a pistol. And I never shot one before. And so the team was trying to teach me how to shoot, but they didn't really know at that time how to teach me how to shoot because it just wasn't a priority. And so I was a really bad pistol shooter for a while. And then something clicked. I went to some special 2-week training and something clicked and I became a very good pistol shooter overnight. And just I got all the things that you needed to do, the breath, the how to hold it, and it just seemed to all work out all of a sudden and I got better. And then we started actually, after 9/11, we started prioritizing the transition and the pistol shooting and things like that. So, but I never brought any of my weapons from the military home, and I didn't own any weapons, and I didn't shoot in my free time because honestly, I didn't enjoy shooting that much. Funny enough, that was not why I joined the Army to shoot. I joined the Army. I mean, I came in the SF as a medic. And so I did, first aid and amputations and stuff like that. Shooting was interesting. I ended up being pretty good at it. It wasn't the best by any means, and I ended up going to sniper school at one time. So I was sniper qualified, but it wasn't my favorite thing to do. I didn't want to sit out in a range with a sniper rifle and shoot all day. And some people love to do that. That's their dream job. And they did it, but that was never that never interested me, never did. So,
I think what you're saying is it's somewhat individual. You will be surrounded by rifles mostly, but now also depending on your occupation or role within the military, also pistols. But you can certainly have your life outside entirely free of weapons, as you do, and I'm sure others do as well.
Yeah, and also, the military, some people think that everyone in the military is a fighter, but the rule of thumb is you have 9 people supporting one trigger puller, right?
Wow.
So one combat guy has 9 people behind him between HR, finance, medicine, medical, dental, legal, supply, logistics, all those people. There's 90% of the military is supporting that 10% that are in the front lines.
I suppose that makes sense. and I understand it. There's a lot of logistics that goes into making everything work. Since you do have experience in the special forces as a ranger and as a Green Beret, let's get to another misconception, perhaps, or you tell me, which is, okay, you are that 1 out of 10, the trigger, and off doing dangerous things. There's an impression in popular media, in movies and in books, that if you are, I won't specify because I couldn't say which, if you're somehow in one of the special forces, you're likely to be a psychopath, you like going around killing people, you're dangerous and inherently unstable and unsafe, right? You're not fit for human consumption anymore, or societal consumption, because you've just been trained to be lethal. And so how do you take a person who's been put through the rigors that are required to turn someone into a lethal killing machine and expect them to be, acceptable in polite society? You're just somehow, I'm sorry if this sounds rude or dangerous or damaging, Randy, I don't mean it that way, but that is a little bit what you get. You read a Jack Reacher book and the special forces guys are off, serial killer in their private time, and he's got to hunt them down. And it seems like there's not an easy life outside the military for someone who's spent a decade or more becoming a highly trained, dangerous person. How would you assess that myth?
Well, I mean, I think the military is a subset of society, of American society. I think if you look at all of the, unfortunately, the many mass shootings in the United States, you're not going to show 50% or 40 or 30. I think you'll probably maybe show 80 or maybe more that are not military.
Right.
Especially the ones that are happening in the schools that they don't seem to be attributed to military at all, which are the
Good point.
biggest
Actually,
ones.
you don't usually hear about mass shootings involving military. There's not often a connection there. Okay, so that's a good point, to say, well, okay, there's not a lot of correlation, at least with what is happening in broader society.
I mean, if you want to talk just violence, I mean, once again, we're a subset of society. We have people who are, have domestic problems, but there's plenty of civilians out there that are involved in domestic violence too. I don't think you'll see a higher percentage within the military culture than civilian culture. I think it's probably about average. I had an argument about, because there's a huge amount of press whenever there's rape or something, or sexual assault in the military. But I think I've seen statistics on that too, and I don't think it's any higher than college. I had an argument with.
I've actually seen statistics going the other way, saying that you're safer in the military than you would be on a college campus. Seriously,
right? I know. I was going through my master's program, and a lot of them were teachers, and I had an argument. They never served in the military, and then we had an argument about rape culture in the military, and I was like, "What are you saying?" He's like, "Oh, look, all these things are just so many rapes in the military. It's like so many compared to what? I mean, if you're looking to send your children to a safe place, maybe you don't send them to college, because that's probably the biggest rape culture there is." And they're like, "Well, but," I was like, "But what? I mean, if you're saying that they're more likely to die in combat than on the street driving a car, they should probably go to combat, because there's a lot more, fatal accidents in the United States on the road than people getting killed in Afghanistan and Iraq." I mean, you look at the statistics, it's not even close. So I don't even know what we're arguing about,
I mean, the reason misconceptions and myths arise is that people draw wrong conclusions from available data, the availability heuristic. You read what's in the headlines and you read about an airplane crash and you assume airplane crashes are more prevalent than they are because they're always reported. Same thing with actual, mass shootings. You assume they're more prevalent than they are because they're always headline news. And I expect that is indeed how some of the misconceptions about any profession arise, but certainly also the military. Since you said, and I think you're correct, that the military is just a subset of society and is so going to reflect all sorts of things, let's get to another one about who joins the military. I think I would say the misconception is it consists of either patriots, people who, put America above everything else and so serve for altruistic reasons, and then misfits is probably the wrong word, but people who don't find an easy way in the other, in our previous podcast, we talked about work in the system, right? So you go to school, you get a job, you do a profession. People who don't have an easy way with that because they don't like school, they don't want to go to school, they, are chafing against the existing system, often find their way to the military. Am I wrong to say that those are the two buckets? Or should you say it's all the rest of society as well? Who do you think decides to go because it's a volunteer service?
Well, first of all, there's a famous Green Beret who's also an MMA fighter called Tim Kennedy, and he often says this. I want to quote him: "It's harder to get in the military than it is to college."
Is
Right?
that so?
Yeah,
Why?
of course. Well, first of all, we don't take obese people.
Aha, the physical fitness standards.
Second of all, we don't. If you have a history of doing drugs, we don't take you. If you have a history of mental illness, we don't take you. I mean, that just those three things right there. I mean, you can see how it's
70% of the population.
Right. So, and then also, they have wish-washed back and forth, but the latest thing I think is you have to have a high school degree, right? But you don't have to finish high school to take a test to get into college, to get into community college. You can start community college without a high school degree. You just have to take an entry exam.
All right, that doesn't, I accept and I like that quote, harder to get into the military than it is to get into college, but it still doesn't address the point of whether you're attracting psychopaths or patriots or.
You're getting a bigger and larger subset of educated people in the military. You have, and so first of all, officers come from a college somewhere. They got to go to college first. So you're getting college students from the colleges around the world. Every college has, pretty much someone. I've met people from Harvard. I've met people from, Princeton. I've met people from UT. So I know all the officers.
What's their motivation, would you say? What do you think they see as the value proposition?
Some of them is patriotism. Some of them is college money. Some of them is a steady paycheck. Some of them, why? So doctors, you get your med school, you get college and med school paid for, and you in 20 years you get a probably $8,000 or $9,000 check every month automatically. And that's and also they give doctors huge bonuses. I mean, you may not getting the annual salary of the neurosurgeon, in the civilian world, but all your insurance is covered. You're not going to get sued. You're getting huge bonuses at the end of the year that aren't taking you up to that level, but maybe halfway. And then you get this retirement check every year for the rest of your life, and not including all the stuff you put in your 401k and everything else. So I think money is
I think it's a good job and provides you with a good value proposition.
It's not a bad job. So a private at the lowest level starts at $2,000 a month. That's better than working at McDonald's. And they cover if you get private, if you're a single private, they cover your housing, your electricity, your water. You have to pay for your cell phone, and if you want a car. But everything else is
before about how if you are clever in how you manage your money, no matter what level you start at, including as a private, you can start saving a really good amount of money, taking advantage of all the other benefits that the military offers. So
and within you start with 2,000 a month, and by the end of 4 years, you'll probably be making around 4,000 a month, depending on the promotions. Your wage goes up every 2 years, no matter what, if you get promoted or not. But you should be able to get at least 3 promotions in 4 years. And if you go to special schools, like if you go to a Green Beret school, you'll get an extra $1,000 a month for being a Green Beret.
So you're saying that it's selective in the first place because there's several criteria that will just knock you right out. So it's a small subset of people who are actually even able to apply. It is.
You also have to take an intelligence test. I mean, they have a test to get in, and if you score the lowest on the test, you're a cook, or whatever. You're peeling potatoes. We don't peel potatoes anymore. We have potato peelers. There are jobs that require, the least score on the test to get in, but no one really wants those. I mean, even infantry is not even the lowest on the thing. There's lower jobs.
I see. All right. So I think that's a good answer to the question or the misconceptions about who joins the military and why. You mentioned a moment ago, officers will have come with a college degree. Let me ask you, or give you a misconception.
There's a shitload of enlisted guys that come. I've seen people
Yes.
with master's degrees. There was a guy that came in with 2 master's degrees and he wanted to
Wow.
be enlisted. He wanted to be an enlisted Green Beret, even though he was going to earn less money because that's what he wanted to do. And so there's people, and so Green Berets maybe are a different subset because you get a lot of really talented people that's what they want to do.
Right.
But even in the normal Army, I met a girl. She had a master's degree from Harvard, and she was barely just a rank above a private. She came in as a private. I mean, there's some really educated. Now, a lot of these people are bitter.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't understand it necessarily, what the motivation is.
Some people want to do it. Some people feel like they got tricked by the recruiter, which just sounds weird, but I guess it could be done. But I just don't believe it. I don't believe that happens very often. I think they misunderstood it, or they did it for another reason. They blamed it on that, so they didn't look stupid. But there are a lot of people. I had a guy in basic training who had graduated college. He was in ROTC and he came in as an enlisted guy thinking that's what he wanted to do. And after he got through basic training, he's like, I don't want to do this. And he went to OCS. So as soon as if you come in and you don't like your enlisted job and you have a degree, you can apply for OCS and become an officer within a year. I mean, if you check all the blocks, you have to get recommendations from your commander and stuff like that. But there's a really, and also I would also say that in the Army today, if you don't at some point within the first 10 or 12 years start towards getting a college degree, you won't get promoted to the highest levels as an enlisted guy. It didn't used to be that way when I came in. There was a lot of people who reached the highest level of enlistment, which is a sergeant major, and they didn't have a degree. There's people that reached that level. But as I was getting out, it was becoming harder and harder. Not only that, but the Army is kind of integrating that into their leadership courses. So at every time you get promoted, you have to go to a leadership course that teaches you to lead at the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're incorporating college level leadership courses that they're working together with universities and saying, all right, we're going to give them this leadership, this 8-week, 10-week, 12-week leadership course. They're going to have to do a year of online training before they even go to the one-on-one course. And we want to integrate with you, the university here. The Army will pay for it. And we want to integrate you having instructors teach leadership courses and finance courses or whatever to our guys. And then we want you to give them an associate's degree when they got 8 years in. And we want you to give them a bachelor's degree at 15 years. And we want you to give them a master's degree at 22 years, because they're going to get serious leadership courses and maybe HR courses, depending on what their specialty is and stuff like that. And that's what we would like you to do. And they work with these universities. The military pays for it, and they get these degrees in the military through going to these leadership courses.
I got to say, from all of our conversations, including that description that you gave just there, I get the sense that the military is an exceptional organization when it comes to continuous training, continuous development. It's not like you're in a role and then that's it, you're stagnant. I mean, maybe that happens, but there seems to be such a premium placed on training and, trying to keep people advancing in their careers. And that's exceptional, because a lot of organizations don't maintain that.
What they teach, they assume everyone has the ability to learn, get a degree, and rise to the highest level.
So they don't pigeonhole you and say, you came in as a cook, you're going to be a cook forever. Or
no, they don't. That's
such a positive.
That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what race or what gender. It doesn't matter where you came from, where you were born, how, if you were poor or rich or medium. It doesn't matter any of that stuff. You're a soldier, and
it's
we
the
assume
ultimate egalitarian organization. If
we
you
assume
perform, you can move up.
Yeah. We'd love to hear what you think. So please comment on the show with your thoughts. We read all of your comments.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks for subscribing. See you next time.